Fish OO. Prologue. On a Sunday evening, about a year ago, a married, male lawyer, who earns hundreds of dollars per hour, visited a gambling house where he met a prostitute, scantily clad in denim short pants and a boob tube top. They shared a chicken salad and wine, then went to a hotel together, where they watched pornography and subsequently fornicated. The couple failed to use contraception, which the wicked government of their country actively encourages, and so, a child was conceived. As soon as she was able, the whore murdered her child using the government's so-called health benefits scheme. Both the lawyer and the prostitute were completely untouched by any form of governmental prosecution. On the same day, a gentle monk sent an email to a police officer, telling him the truth about this world, that is to say, explicating the unassailable fact that most all governments are objectively criminal, and the truth about the above activities, that gambling, prostitution, transvestism, immodest dress, pornography, adultery, fornication, intoxication, and the unjustified killing of any living creature, whether human, non-human animal, or plant, are all abominable actions in the sight of God, as they contradict His perfect and pure law of love. The monk was systematically persecuted by the government, beginning with lengthy interrogations, followed by false allegations against him, psychological assessment, incarceration on the grounds of mental instability, and finally, he was, legally, put to death, or to be more accurate, assassinated by his own government, something that has been increasingly common since monarchy has been eradicated from the earth. Can you guess in which country the above is currently occurring? China, Iran, North Korea? For the answer, see Chapter 22. Choose to be in close proximity to people who are empowering, who appeal to your sense of connection to intention, who see the greatness in you, and who live a life that gives evidence that Spirit has found celebration through them. True happiness resides within you. Most people are searching for happiness outside of themselves. That's a fundamental mistake. Happiness is something that you are, and it comes from the way that you think. When you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice, because that's what's inside. Similarly, when someone squeezes you, puts pressure on you, what comes out is what's inside. And if you don't like what's inside, you can change it by changing your thoughts. Dr. Wayne Dyer, American psychologist and spiritual teacher. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. Arthur Schopenhauer, German philosopher. As explained in the following 30 chapters of this holy scripture, there is no personal God as such, but the gist of the argument stands. As also explained, every action that has ever occurred in this phenomenal universe, including every thought and deed enacted by each and every human being, was predetermined from all eternity. Therefore, the sins mentioned above are an equally valid manifestation of the same eternal reality, as are holy acts. Holiness and wickedness are two sides of the same coin, metaphorically speaking. However, since the purpose of Dharma and Yoga, authentic religion, is to elevate humanity to a higher level of living, the holy and righteous side of this dichotomy is being advocated here. And Lord knows how modern society desperately needs to come out of the darkness of sin and into the glorious light of truth. Unless the precepts, more specifically, the moral imperatives contained within this document are followed by a significant proportion of humanity, the end of our species is assured. At the risk of sounding pessimistic, it seems that we are doomed. N.B. Concerning abortion, it is pertinent to make mention of a particularly controversial issue, and that is, whether or not an unborn human, whether zygote, embryo, or fetus, is fully human. The undeniable and blatantly obvious fact is, that a child conceived by two parents of the Homo sapiens species, or even cloned from a single parent, is without any doubt, a unique human being from the very moment of conception. Those in favor of illegal abortion, i.e. killing of an unborn child for unlawful, illicit reasons, are quite adamant that it is perfectly fine to end the life of an unborn child, sometimes even a birthed child, believe it or not. Due to it being underdeveloped, insentient, and/or unconscious. Any person with adequate intelligence knows that even after an infant child has been birthed, it is still not fully developed, since it has yet to pass through the preliminary stages of life such as childhood and adolescence. So then, why stop killing at the fetal stage? Why not destroy the life of a 12-year-old boy, since he has not yet fully developed unto adulthood? The fact remains that a human is fully human, regardless of the stage of life in which it is situated. It is not partially human and partially giraffe, it is fully human. The aforementioned preliminary stages, zygote, embryo, and fetus, are just that, merely stages of the human life cycle, and although the life of an embryo may not be quite as morally valuable as that of a 5-year-old child, this fact alone is insufficient justification in itself for destroying its very life. Therefore, it is debatable whether or not a human embryo is, by the strictest definitions of the terms, a sentient, conscious person, but it is indisputable that it is a human being, worthy of protection, and must not be unlawfully terminated in a just society. It is indeed fortuitous that the mothers of outstanding historic personalities such as Lords Krishna, Buddha, and Jesus, decided to not murder their precious offspring. See Chapter 12 of A Final Instruction Sheet for Humanity, FISH, to learn the distinction between legitimate abortion and illegal abortion, and to understand metaethics morality in general. In brief, abortion is legitimate only in the case of rape, or if the mother's life is endangered. Personally, I don't think that I could ever condone the abortion of a child, by a woman in my family, even if she was the victim of rape, because I could never perform the act of inserting my arm into the uterus of my mother, one of my wives or daughters, and manually extracting the embryo or fetus. And if I could not bring myself to perform such a despicable deed myself, I ought not pay a so-called doctor to execute the baby on my behalf. Sometimes, I feel faintly guilty destroying the life of an insect, such as a mosquito or an ant, even when it is attacking me or my food supply, what to speak of terminating the life of a fellow human being, the most highly evolved species of life in the known universe. It would be far preferable for me to encourage my daughter, wife or mother to give birth to the child and then relinquish it to an adoptive family. P.S. It is rather important to refer to the glossary definitions of some of the terms used in the above paragraphs, particularly the words, law, morality, consciousness, sentience, and person.